Maroney.
Mr Speaker, and it was indeed time for that member to resume her seat, as you quite clearly indicated. Mr Speaker, I want to add my thanks to all of the staff who make this facility operate, who support members of parliament to do their jobs in the most gracious way, I might say. That is, that the staff do their jobs in the most gracious way to help us to do our jobs. From the messengers to the cleaners, to the office of the clerk staff and everyone in between, the library staff, the people who provide us the food in the facility. Well, and even the Treasury advisors. Thank you. I think because the Treasury often gives very good advice that the government chooses to ignore.
That's right.
But never mind. They do choose to ignore that when it doesn't suit them. But really, I just want to thank from the Labour Party caucus those staff members who go about doing their job diligently. They're not in the limelight, but they just make this place function. And they do it in such a pleasant way, and they do it without fear or favour, actually, and I think that's very, very important. Mr Speaker, I want to thank you and your office for their work throughout the course of the last 3 years, and I do also want to thank the departing members and congratulate them as they go towards the next part of the adventure in their lives. And we all look forward to seeing what happens with the rest of their lives and participating with them, because I think the thing about New Zealand is it is genuinely 2 degrees of separation. So we do fully expect to come across each other, to see the departing members and see where they land next, and that will be very interesting. Mr Speaker, listening to the debate from the other side, I wonder what country the National Party actually think they're in. Because, according to them, there are plenty of jobs, there are high wages, no one has a problem with housing, and Christchurch has been rebuilt.
That's right.
Christchurch has been rebuilt. Now, I think that's a bit of a surprise to the people in Canterbury, but they heard it first from Bill English today.
That's right.
He got up on his feet and he said, and we've rebuilt Christchurch. Right. And then there was this pause, because I think even the members of his own caucus drew in a big breath because they couldn't quite believe it themselves, and neither should they. It just goes to show how out of touch the national government has become, Mr Speaker, because I don't know which New Zealand they're operating in, but I invite them to come to the Waikato. The Waikato region, which should be humming, coming out of recession, coming off the back of the best dairy payouts ever, you would expect the Waikato region to be absolutely humming. There should be plenty of jobs. There should be high wages. There should be plenty of support for children. But there's not. And that's the reality, Mr Speaker. Because in the Waikato, unemployment is going up. At the height of the recession, unemployment was 5.6% in the Waikato region. Now, as we come out of the recession, it's at 7%. 7% unemployment in the Waikato region is going in the wrong direction. This from a region that ought to be humming. But hardly a week goes by now where we don't hear of major job losses in our region. Last week, it was 110 jobs under threat at Campak. Now, Campak is part of the dairy industry, and it was once, not that long ago, only about 3 years ago, the largest private sector employer in Hamilton. The largest private sector employer in Hamilton. Now, it's down to about 300 staff, and of those 300 odd staff, 110 have their jobs on the line. Whoa. This in a region where it ought to be humming. But that's only the beginning, because at the end of April, 120 jobs from Hutton's, a meat processing plant, they're gone. And what we know is that since the end of April, only 40 of those 120 staff have got permanent sustainable work. Permanent sustainable work. Because what their union reported was that the jobs on offer, if there were any to be had, were mostly insecure contracted jobs, jobs with 90-day hire and fire at will provisions to them, and jobs that no family could actually pay their mortgage on, that no family could actually make sure that they fed their children on, that no family could make sure that they could pay their increasing power bills with. So that's the New Zealand that we see when we get out in the real world. And I invite the members opposite to get out in the real world, because their speeches show how out of touch they are. Their speeches are painting a picture of a rosy New Zealand. Now, maybe that's the part of New Zealand they're seeing, but I invite them to actually come to the regions, actually anywhere in New Zealand, because what the statistics do tell us is that the only place that really is going ahead is Canterbury. So let's all have an earthquake, because that's the only plan under this government. Right. They had a natural disaster and milk prices, the only two things that were working for them. Now the milk prices are starting to collapse. We've only got natural disasters left, and that is not a plan. Labor, on the other hand, does have a plan. Labor has a plan to actually get that better future for New Zealand, because it is a better New Zealand that we want. We want families to be in a positive environment where they're not having to work out what they're going to go without from week to week so that they can make ends meet. They're not having to work out whether it's the power bill that gets paid or whether it's the doctor's visit for the child that happens, because those are the very real things that New Zealanders face on a day-to-day basis. Mr. Speaker, in a region like the Waikato, you wouldn't see a smart plan being a government that is prepared to cut 180 agricultural research jobs from Hamilton. If that government actually had a regional economic development plan, it wouldn't think that the best thing to do is cut 180 jobs from ag research in Hamilton. It's one of our best dairy-producing regions in the world, Mr. Speaker. And that government thinks the best thing it can do for our region is to cut innovation, research and science in the field of agriculture. That's what they think. Simon Bridges thinks that. He believes it. But that is the road to nowhere for our region. And we need a government that's actually going to start making some smart plans. Some smart plans like giving children the best start. Giving children the best start in life. Because we know in the Labour Party that actually if we invest early, that will reap rewards, not only for that child and their family, but for their community and for all of those who live beside those children. All of those who want to live beside well-rounded, productive members of our society contributing to the best of their ability. And that's what Labour's plan is about, because under our Best Start policy, we will lift children out of poverty. We will lift children out of poverty, $60 a week extra into families with infants. And for the lowest income families, that $60 a week payment will continue until that child's third birthday. And on that child's third birthday, Mr. Speaker, that child will then get access to 25 hours free early childhood education hours. And so we will be able to actually see that child progress right through to the time that that child starts school. And when that child starts school, their parents will not have the bailiffs coming around to get them to pay the school fees, because under Labour's policy, we will be ensuring that families do not have to pay those so-called voluntary donations to schools. And we will ensure that that child is in a class where they can get the sort of quality teaching because they have lower class sizes. And that's the sort of future under Labour. It is a really positive future. It is one dealing with the issues, the day-to-day issues that everyday New Zealanders face. It is not the fairy cuckoo land that the National Party has been describing. It is not the out-of-touch New Zealand that the National Party believes are there, a place where there are plenty of jobs, a place where no one has any housing problems, a place where there are high wages. That is the Labour Party vision. It is sadly what the National Party thinks is already in place. But listen up, New Zealand. Listen up, New Zealand. If New Zealanders believe and are experiencing the New Zealand that the National Party are describing, then you know what to do with your vote. But most New Zealanders know that that is fairy cuckoo land, and they know that they need a better future for their country. That means voting Labour, voting positive, and doing that voting early, doing it on the 20th of September. I look forward, Mr Speaker, to our return to Parliament after the election and look forward to seeing a better future for this country.
Order.
Mr Speaker.
I called you Flavel.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker, kia ora tātou te whare i tēnei rā.